So I am Bill Garrity, et cetera. Oh, no, that means I'm supposed to say I'm Bill Garrity, University Librarian and Vice Provost of Digital Scholarship. So thank you very much for coming this afternoon as we celebrate the recipients of this year's UC Davis Library Graduate Student Prize. Our winners are pursuing research with tremendous potential for positive impact on health and well-being, and we will hear more from each of them during today's program. It's super to see so many of my colleagues from the library and across campus here today, as well as Gary Novak and Diane Zimmerman from the Library Leadership Board and Daniel Castaneda, who won the first year, right? And he's wearing a tie and jacket now, so you can tell he's very successful. Yeah. And so we're also grateful for the financial contributions to support for the prize program and are delighted to have so many of the supporters here in the audience today. Before we begin, we should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Putwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Putwin tribes: the Cachel-Dehe Band of Wintun Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dehe Wintun Nation, and the Yoka-Dehe Wintun Nation. The Putwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as the elders have instructed the young over the generations. We are honored and grateful to be here this afternoon on their ancestral lands. Let's talk about this impressive cohort of scholars. Graduate students occupy a very special place on campus. They bridge research and education across the university. The Library Graduate Student Prize recognizes not just research excellence, but those who have used library resources and expertise to create outstanding scholarship with the potential for public impact. By spotlighting their work, the prize hopes to highlight the incredible impact that UC Davis graduate students are having in our local community, on campus, the state of California, and across the globe. As it happens, all 3 of this year's awardees are in public health and epidemiology, and their work supports a broad range of communities, from adolescents to older adults, from California to Africa. It is so inspiring for us here in the library to be able to support these graduate students in their research as they dig into databases, data sets, journal articles, data science technologies, and any other information and resource and expertise they need. This is what we in libraries live to do. So thank you to the 3 prize recipients and to all the graduate students and postdocs who applied. It is truly an honor to be able to support your work. I'd also like to thank the committee that judged the applications and the team that planned and organized this wonderful event. And now I'm pleased to introduce UC Davis Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor Mary Krogan, who will offer some remarks on behalf of campus. An experienced administrator with more than 30 years at the University of California and herself an expert in community health, Mary has served as Provost and EVC of UC Davis since 2020. She's also a proud Aggie, having earned her own undergraduate degree here at UC Davis. So thanks for being here, and we look forward to your remarks.
Thanks, Bill, and I'm delighted to join you to celebrate the exceptional individuals who have earned this prestigious Library Graduate Student Prize today. We do have nearly 7,000 graduate students here at UC Davis, all of whom are important to our research, teaching, and public service mission, and they make meaningful contributions to our campus and to the community. It is especially important right now to emphasize the enormous benefits of university-driven research. It is because of university-led research that we continue to develop treatments for cancer, for Alzheimer's disease, that we discover and track emerging pandemic threats, that we cultivate more resilient crops, that we create modern transportation systems, and so much more. Our lives are improved every day by the research and engaging in research remains a key part of our mission here at UC Davis. As a faculty member myself and as a principal investigator on multiple federal research grants, I will say in the past, can't keep that up as provost, I've seen the difference that federally funded university-led research makes in the lives of individuals and in our world. This event is especially meaningful to me as an epidemiologist. Thank you to the three of you, because we are celebrating 3 graduate students who are studying public health, specifically epi, which, as I said, is my own training. Contrary to anything you hear, I was not involved in the selection process. Yes, can't let my own bias for the field influence the recipients. But I do understand the incredible impact that the work of these graduate students can have, especially among vulnerable populations. Laura is working on cognitive decline. Safa Uraizee is researching COVID-19 vaccination decision-making. And Andrea Guggenbickler's project examines sex education among adolescents in rural communities. All 3 projects represent the significant value of public health research and its meaningful contributions to our society. I do also recognize this is a very challenging time to be in public health. We're on our 4th director of the CDC right now, and our 2nd or 3rd for National Institutes of Health. One lasted for 2 days. But especially when federal policies are shifting and funding is uncertain. I had very similar experiences in my own years as a graduate student and as a faculty member. I have seen funding go up and down throughout my career. I did reproductive perinatal epidemiology, cohort of 52,000 women treated for infertility, seen as 2 linked to abortion, prenatal care, and pregnant women, which of course it is. So there was no federal funding for the first 12 years I was in my field. And I can just tell you will find a backdoor way to get it done. So don't get discouraged. There are maybe an ebb and flow to the funding, but I am confident that with your passion, determination, and creativity, you will be successful. In closing, I want to recognize our library's exceptional team for supporting our outstanding students as they completed their projects. The library helps our students delve into complex issues facing society, consults on their research and their projects, and accesses the country's largest research collection of more than 50 million items through our UC libraries. They connect our students with primary source materials from around the world, and our students benefit tremendously from the valuable expertise and the partnership of faculty and librarians digging into research right beside them. Finally, I also want to thank our faculty and staff for the support they provide to our students on their path to learning and discovery. Congratulations to our student prize winners, and thank you for representing UC Davis with such excellence. I look forward to hearing and seeing what you will accomplish in your careers and hearing about your research today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Provost Krogan. Thank you, Bill. I'm Stephen Keoy. I'm chair of the UC Davis Library Graduate Student Prize and head of the Researcher Services Department here in the library. Thank you so much for coming today. Before we hear from our student winners, I want to thank our prize reviewers, many of whom have been with us for past years. Our faculty reviewers this year were Lacey Gerhardt, Jonathan Eisen, Jeanette Money, Alyssa Griffin, Hegnar Watenpaugh, Valerie Evener, and Richard Kim. And this year we also had a number of librarian reviewers, and those were Ignacio Sanchez Alonso, David Mihalski, Chin Liu, Beth Tweedy, Eric Fossack, Ruth Gustafson, Matthew Connor, Rebecca Hernandez, and Amy Studer. So many of you are here, so thank you so much for all of your hard work on these reviews. It was a team effort. So as I read through the students' cover letters, I was really impressed by how deeply they engaged in the library's research process. And I was equally impressed by the different ways that many of the winners were helped by people here in the library. These people include Megan Van Nord, David Mihalski, now emeritus librarian Dan Goldstein, who helped one of the winners several years ago, and the wonderful team at the UC Davis Data Lab. All these people were specifically mentioned in the winners' letters. I also want to gratefully acknowledge the library team who worked to put on this prize this year and in past years, especially Rebecca Itterdahl, who's the reason the application and review process went so smoothly this year. A lot of work behind the scenes on that. And our wonderful communication and events team, Jessica Nussbaum, Portia Green, there in the back, and Kristen Burns, as well as our library IT and facilities team for putting on such a wonderful event here today. It's not an exaggeration to say everything we do in the library is a team effort here. So this year, the third year of the prize, we received a record 34 applications from a wide range of disciplines. And that's an increase from 18 in the first year and 25 in the second year. So that's a pretty nice trajectory. So we can extrapolate that for years to come. Our graduate students all create such wonderful research, and we're really fortunate to be a part of that. And now I'm pleased to introduce our 2026 Library Graduate Student Prize recipients. Our first award goes to Yi Lor, PhD candidate in epidemiology. Yi's paper is titled The Association of Life Course Residential Segregation with Cognition and Cognitive Decline. And Yi is actually on a plane, I think maybe right now, on his way to Florida to present this same research at a symposium there. So he we'll hear his remarks from a pre-recorded video now, and later on in the ceremony, his colleague Alex will accept the certificate on his behalf. So we'll see the video now.
Hi everyone, my name is Yi, and sorry I can't be there physically in person today, but I will be there in spirit with you. I'm really happy to receive this award and to have my research recognized by the UC Davis Library. I want to take this moment to thank the library and the committee for this award, and also to thank the amazing librarians for their help along the way in my academic journey. And particularly, I want to thank David Mikowski for meeting with me throughout the years and helping guide me on my research in subject matter. I also want to thank Megan Van Noord for her help in my literature search, helping me navigate the UC Davis Library database and also other databases such as PubMed. And then a big shout out to the UC Davis Data Lab for their data experts and helping me with my statistical questions, inquiries, and also for their great seminars on R programming and causal inferences methodology. UC Davis Library has always been a big part of my academic journey. I consider it to be sort of a second home, a place where I can go to work, focus on my research, socialize with the colleagues and classmates that I have, and also a place where I can just go to relax and have some alone time. And this sort of leads into my research, particularly I'm looking at places where we live, work, and play, and how that influences our brain health and the way we think as we get older. And my research particularly focused on residential segregation, which is the separation of people and places based on race and ethnicity. Segregation is more than just geography. It reflects a long history of systematic policies and structural racism that exclude certain peoples from having equitable resources such as healthcare, education, green space, and a safe environment. So in my research, I look to understand how segregation may influence our cognitive functioning in later life. To do this, I use data from a cohort of older adults, 50 years and older, and these individuals have undergone extensive questionnaires and assessment of their cognition. With this data, we can link them back to census data to identify where they lived when they were 40 years old. And then using measures of segregation, we can identify whether they lived in cities that were segregated or not. So using statistical methods, we find whether living in a segregated city was associated with late life cognition in these older adults. So what we found was that among Asian participants living in segregated cities was associated with lower cognitive functioning. And similarly, we found that among Black participants living in segregated city was also associated with lower cognition. However, interestingly, living in cities that are segregated was associated with less cognitive decline in both Asian and Hispanic participants. So what does this mean? Well, segregation is a complex issue, and we know that it is not good for health, and it's the cause of deep social inequities in our societies. However, I find it suggests that this may be a bit more nuanced, particularly in certain groups of people. In certain communities, living in more ethnically concentrated communities may promote ethnic cultural cohesion and social support and economic opportunities that may promote protective factors to help protect against cognitive decline in later life. So overall, where we live, work, and play does matter for our brain health, and the social environments that we create is important for our cognitive aging later life. And in order to reduce dementia and cognitive decline in later life, it's important for us to really look at policies that can reduce structural racism and promote inclusiveness in the context of our neighborhood environment, especially in early life. With that said, thank you for this award and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Yi. So our next award goes to Safa Uraizee, Master of Public Health. Safa actually already graduated. And Safa's work is titled Identifying COVID-19 Related Concern Patterns, a Mixed Method Study of Vaccine Decision-Making in Zambia. And we'll hear from Safa now.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Safa Uraizee. I'm a recent graduate from the Master of Public Health Science program from the Department of Public Health Sciences. It's so good to be here, and thank you all for coming. I want to begin by thanking the Award Committee, the UC Davis Library, and the Office of Public Scholarship and Engagement for organizing this event and creating a space that celebrates student research. I'm truly honored to be recognized as one of the inaugural recipients for this prize. I also want to congratulate Andrea and Yi. It is truly an honor to share this platform with you both. As part of my program's final degree requirement, students completed a 180-hour minimum. I say minimum because it was more than that. This project designed to provide a real-world experience in public health practice. I knew early on that I wanted my project to focus on global health, and I'm grateful for my preceptor, Dr. Jake Pry, who's in Zambia right now, whose work in Zambia made this opportunity possible. The COVID-19 pandemic reshaped how many of us think about vaccines, trust, and communication. The pandemic amplified many fears and concerns, introducing new forms of miscommunication and surfacing existing issues with trust and access. And with that context in mind, I want to introduce the larger study my practicum builds on. My project builds on a larger study led by Dr. Anjali Sharma that examines interest in new adult vaccines following the COVID-19 pandemic. Her work raises an important question. If someone accepts one vaccine, is it reasonable to assume they will accept other vaccines as well? My project builds on this by shifting the focus from vaccine interest to the concerns people hold, and more specifically, whether those concerns form distinct patterns that influence future vaccine decisions and intentions. And through this work, I identified distinct concern profiles that review how belief, trust, and lived experience interact to influence vaccine decisions. By showing that people with similar concerns may respond differently depending on context and trust, this project highlights why public health communication must be thoughtful, responsive, and human-centered, especially at a time when shifts in global funding, including the disruption of USAID-supported programs, are changing how vaccine outreach happens on the ground. This was my first time leading a project in this capacity, and at the beginning, I felt very overwhelmed and unsure how to even approach it. The UC Davis Library played a huge role in helping me move forward. I met with Megan, the health sciences librarian, thank you, a few times over Zoom and for consultation, and she helped me navigate the library's website, identify search terms, and use different online databases. She taught me how to advance search strategies to apply mesh terms and combining concepts, and refining my searches so that I could independently identify relevant studies. She also introduced me to guidelines for systematic documentation and reporting, which helped me feel more confident in my research process. A lot of time on this project involved coding and analysis, and the library became the perfect place for me to focus and get my work done. One of the biggest takeaways from this experience was just realizing how many resources the library offers. Some I didn't even know before this project. I really hope that more students take advantage of these services because it truly shaped how I approach research. This project would not have been possible without the support of my collaborators, Dr. Anjali Sharma, our primary investigator, my preceptor, Dr. Jake Pry, my amazing advisor, Dr. Farla Kaufman. Thank you as well to Dr. Pollack for being here, Dr. G, and Dr. Taylor. Finally, I want to thank my family and friends for their continuous support and encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Safa. It's amazing how much bravery and perseverance you have in your research. So our next award goes to Andrea Guggenbickler. Andrea is a PhD candidate in public health sciences, and her work is entitled The Effectiveness of Sex Education in Reducing Adolescent Birth Rates in Rural U.S. Communities, a scoping review. So Andrea, can you please come in?
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank the UC Davis Library and everyone here today. It truly means a great deal to be recognized in a space that has played such an important role in my academic journey. I have been a student at UC Davis for 9 of the last 11 years. I'm a super Aggie, as they call us. And I worked with students for the other 2 years as an academic advisor. So UC Davis has been a really big part of the last 11 years of my life. And the library has been a real cornerstone of my educational journey at Davis. Whether it was camping out at tables on floor 2 to study for hours at a time in undergrad, shout out to physics and NPB 101, or truly learning to efficiently utilize and appreciate the library's many resources as a graduate student. This space has been a large part of my journey and my success at UC Davis. I also want to thank my advisor and dissertation chair, Dr. Taylor, for being here, and another member of my dissertation committee, Dr. Kravitz-Schwartz, who encouraged me to apply for this award. Like Stephen said, my name is Andrea Guggenbickler. I'm a PhD candidate in public health sciences, and my research focuses on sex education disparities, specifically the role that comprehensive sexuality education plays in sexual health outcomes for adolescents. At its core, my work asks a simple question. Do young people in different contexts receive the information and resources that they need to make informed decisions about their sexual health? And how does that affect their sexual health outcomes? Adolescent birth rates in the United States have declined over the last several decades, which is great news, but that progress has not been equal everywhere. Rural communities continue to experience disproportionately higher rates compared to urban areas, and that difference reflects broader disparities in access to healthcare, educational resources, and community infrastructure. My dissertation examines sex education disparities from multiple angles. The first paper, the one submitted for this award, is a scoping review that systemizes 40 years of research on sex education in rural communities. In other words, I stepped back and asked several questions. What do we already know? What works? How well? What doesn't? Why not? And where are the gaps? And these questions and the answers I found in the scoping review helped inform the latter two papers of my dissertation. That may sound straightforward, but the literature on sex education is incredibly fragmented. Research is spread across public health, education, sociology, nursing, and demography. Studies use different definitions of what comprehensive sex education means. Some focus on outcomes, others on implementation, and many overlook rural populations entirely. This is where the UC Davis Library became essential. I often tell my students, research is not just about asking a good question. It's about knowing how to find and evaluate evidence. Early in this project, I realized that simple keyword searches were not going to be enough. I was either finding too much irrelevant material or missing really important and key studies. Working with health sciences librarian Megan Van Ord transformed my approach. She helped me refine my search terms, use controlled vocabulary like mesh terms, and build database-specific strategies using Boolean logic. We tested variations on search strings and analyzed how small changes drastically shifted results. She also guided me through registering my protocol on the Open Sciences framework, which strengthened transparency and credibility of my project, and ultimately helped me with the publication process. Beyond consultations, I relied heavily on the interlibrary loan and rapid ILL services to access older studies, some dating back to the 1980s and 1990s, which were not available online. Those historical studies were crucial in understanding how earlier rural programs shaped what we see today. Library workshops on citation management helped me organize and screen more than 2,000 records systematically. In other ways, the library was not just a resource, it was a research partner. It helped me move from broad topics to rigorous, reproducible, and comprehensive analyses. So, what did we find? At a high level, the evidence suggests that when sex education is medically accurate, culturally responsive, comprehensive, and supported by trained educators and community engagement, it is associated with improved health outcomes for adolescents. But the research also shows persistent inequities. Rural schools often face staffing shortages, funding constraints, and political pressures that make implementation much more difficult. By identifying what works and where barriers persist, my research contributes to policy conversations about how to design sex education programs that are not only evidence-based, but equitable for populations that are often overlooked or lumped together with populations that are vastly different to them. And this is where the wider public comes in. Sex education is not just an academic topic. It affects families, school districts, policymakers, and most importantly, young people. When adolescents receive accurate and inclusive information, they're better equipped to deal with decisions that influence their health, educational attainment, and long-term economic stability. Reducing disparities in adolescent birth rates is connected to broader goals of reproductive autonomy, educational opportunity, and community health. My hope is that this research supports educators and policymakers working to ensure that geography does not determine access to information. I hope it demonstrates something else, that libraries matter deeply in the production of knowledge. Behind every published paper is an infrastructure of access, expertise, and support that often goes unseen. My publication of this work would not have been possible without the support of the UC Davis Library. Today, I want to acknowledge that this project reflects not just any work, or not just my work, but the collective effort of librarians, mentors, colleagues, friends, and family who have supported me along the way. Thank you for being a part of that journey, and thank you to the UC Davis Library for recognizing research that depends so profoundly on the work that you do every day.
Thank you all. Now we get to the part of the program that requires choreography, where we actually award the prize certificates to the winners. So Provost Krogan, if I could ask you to kind of come up here, like station yourself there. So as I call your name, for each of the prize recipients or their reps, please come forward and receive your certificate from Provost Krogan, and there will be a photo. Okay? So after you've gotten your award, this is the choreography part, right? After you've gotten your award, kind of position yourself here for the group photo at the end. Got it? Okay. Research is really hard. Okay. So to accept the award on behalf of Yi Lor, I would like to invite Yi's colleague, Alec Posis, to the podium. Oh, show your. Good job. Fist bump. Safa. Thank you. Andrea. Let's have a round of applause for all our winners. Because since nothing exists unless you Instagram it, let's do the group photo. Yeah.
Yeah, would be a way
Steven, you said. So this is the Insta moment. Oh my.
Look over here for a second.
Thank you.
Just do it. Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, winners, photos of winners and representatives of winners. Thank you, Stephen, for running an excellent program, and Provost Krogan, thank you for coming. That's all. Thank you very much for coming and joining us today. Enjoy the refreshments and mingle. Thank you.